So hello everyone. I'm very happy to present you the base we completed this year. And as HLRS is actually a high performance computing center, we are working for work package 4, focusing on scientific visualization. So most of our TNAs are focusing the visualization of simulation data which are coming out from big computers, huge computers, a lot of them, and these are, for example, 2 of the TNAs we are presenting today. And we have a couple of kind of unusual TNAs today I want to present you today, handling more with unusual data analysis. Let's start with the first TNA project. So the visualization of CFD data. So our guest, Konstantin Volkov, is from Kingston University, London. He has visited us 2 times. This was planned as 1 TNA with 2 visits, but unfortunately the amendment in Visionair, which would make this possible, was kind of late, so we divided this into 2 TNAs with half an unit of access each. So in the first visit we had the basics explained, what is the TNA around, and basically Kingston University is developing an in-house CFD research code, so they are doing research on CFD simulation, and they are searching a visualization front end for their simulation code. Of course, they do not want to develop a visualization code themselves. They are just searching for best practices, best software which they can use for their code. So the goal of the project was just to improve the techniques of visualization of large CFD data sets which are coming out of their simulation code, and then trying to figure out how to link their software with the visualization in a good way. And of course, CFD data is always handling huge data. We had a lot of work to do to organize and to handle the large amount of data which is coming out of the simulation and prepare it for visualization. So the main approach, we can see just some kind of data flow diagram here. So they have their CFD code on the left side. On the right side, you see the really basic structure of CoVias or open cover. And the first TNA was about reading the CFD data from their code. So we just wrote a reading module for open cover to read the data from the simulation code. And the second TNA, or the second visit, was about an improvement for a particle generator we implemented then, because he would just want not only to have grid structures filled with data, he also wants to do the visualization of particles and particle simulations within open cover, and for that we wrote the particle generator, which is generating the particle traces within the CFD data. And in the second visit we had another issue. This was the handling of the large data sets. So the data size we got within this project was around 400 to 500 gigabytes, one data set. And it takes a lot of time to load the data for visualization. And this was around 30 to 40 minutes, and obviously we have not a slow data transfer between the file system and the rendering nodes. We have a high performance file system connected to the rendering nodes by a quad data rate InfiniBand, so 30 to 40 minutes is a lot of data which is transferred to the render nodes actually. And we had to optimize the data structures within the CFD code to do the data transfer to the render nodes and loading the data in a faster way, more optimized way. So we came up from 30 minutes down to 5 minutes, and that was quite a nice improvement. So what we achieved in this TNA, of course, we did the CoWAS training for our guest, Konstantin. So right now he is using our software for visualization and preparing all his research work and do the images and videos from his data. So he's using our software now and is trained to use it. And within the project, as I said again, we discussed the data formats. So he changed the data structure of the files he's writing out a little bit just to optimize them for visualization. Yeah, so we wrote the write module for CoWise, the read module for CoWise, and of course the particular read-write module so we can do the traces. The next TNA I want to present is a little bit unusual for us because it was more for urban design and planning, but again it was handling large data sets, a large amount of data sets. Our guest Stuart Connor was from the University of East London, visiting us in February this year. And the title is Exploring Open Design and Habitat Connectivity in a Virtual Collaboration Structure. So what was it about, or what is the background of Stuart? So actually he's trying to modeling the movement of all kinds of animals in for example, large cities like London. So he tries to figure out how to repopulate London, for example, with bees or bumblebees or animals like that. And he tries to enable the animals to find new nests within green roofs by creating new roofs or trying to get kind of plants on some roofs and to optimize the habitat quality for these animals in particular. So and for planning, and so they are doing a lot of tests trying to optimize the platforms, and they are also doing simulation of the flights of the bees and the bumblebees and trying to map these flights to the infrastructure, city infrastructure, and trying to figure out where to install new green infrastructure. And so the goals are to do this interactively in a virtual reality environment. And yeah, we tried that. And of course, again, we did an open cover training for stewards so we can use our software again. And we used a couple of planning software we have within open cover or CoWise actually for the positioning of new geometries within large data sets, for example, large cities. You can see it on the right side. So this was an interactive placing of a new green infrastructure on the campus of Stuttgart, of the University of Stuttgart. And then we continued to figure out what amount of data we can handle in the cave, and we tried the visualization of the data set we got from the city of Stuttgart. So this was a model of the whole environment of the city of Stuttgart, and this became a really challenging problem because it was a large amount of data to handle with high details, and this was nearly the limits, came to the limits of our cave or visualization system. But a nice project which will be continued in future. We are hoping for a second visit of Stuart in Stuttgart, because we are still working on this GISWalk module. GISWalk means Geographic Information System. So to map the bumblebee's flight or the predicted flight into the model. And this means for us that we have to so they are simulating this within a GISWalk module, and then we have to read from that module, from their simulation software, and map all the bumblebee flight into the virtual city model and try to figure out where to place new green habitats in the city model. So we are still hoping for a second visit of this TNA in the remaining time of Visionair. So the next TNA is from the Vienna University of Technology. So our guest was Julia Forster, visiting at the end of last year. And this is, they are using simulation tools for an holistic city model to do all kinds of analysis while planning for urban structures. For example, they have the awareness in the city, how you can reach different buildings, how you can get into there, how you can reach the train station, how good you can reach the train stations, and how you can improve mobility for the citizens to reach specific points into the city. So they have a lot of data with conducting a case study within Vienna. And again, they have the same problem finding a visualization tool with which they can do, first of all, the visualization of all different aggregated data, but also do a fast analyzing of all this data, for example, for decision making in urban planning scenarios. In the proposal, they were focusing the OSG Earth module. So we began with COAS training, trying to figure out all the possibilities, capabilities of open OSG Earth. And we came to the point that even so they proposed to use OSG Earth, this is not capable to handle all the data. Even so, we try to enhance our OSG Earth plugin due to their requirements. The OSG Earth module was not that solution for them to really have the kind of visualization, to have the kind of methods for decision planning they have in mind. So for example, OSG Earth is doing a level of detail optimization for visualization, which is not meeting the requirements of the user. We tried to use the OSG Earth module in a kind of way you can see it on the right side, for example, mapping different properties of the buildings to the color of the buildings, to the heights of the buildings. You can just switch on, switch off different layers which are generated by the software they are using. It's kind of a nice visualization with some functionality they can use, but we have to continue work on this issue to find another way of visualization. So what they want to do is to do a visualization of the whole city of Vienna, and as I mentioned in the previous TNA, even so the city of Stuttgart, so the core of the city, became a huge problem for visualization, and they try to do visualization of old structures within the city of Vienna, and this is a huge problem for visualization. So, but we'll again want to continue this TNA, hopefully in a second visit, a second TNA within Visionair, and we discussed how we can continue with this within this project. So we discussed how to design and implement an interface to COAS which is capable to do the rendering, and on the other hand handling all the amount of data they have with all the needed interactive tools. And so we are started to write an interface for the SQL Geographic Information System database, so we can go into their data directly and try to figure out how to access their data and how we can do the visualization of their data according to what the user within the cave wants to see, wants to handle. So we want to continue this TNA. Hopefully this will work in the last couple months of Visionair. The next TNA is again a very challenging one, handling again big data sets. So our guest was Emmanuel Renaud from University College in Dublin, who is working for the School of Biology. He was visiting us in October this year, and he is working on or he's using light sheet microscopy for investigating really tiny life forms like plankton or really a tiny one, and they're again searching for a visualization tool which is capable to do the visualization of really large data sets and of course of an interactively manipulation of these kind of data sets. And just to give you a better understanding what is a light sheet microscope. So basically the probe, you can see it on the right side, the probe is in the focus of a laser beam coming here from the left side, and this is focused to a really tiny plane, we call it a plane of light, illuminating really a one thin layer within the probe. And by illuminating this little, this tiny thin plane within the probe, you're trying to get this image from 90 degrees by a CCD camera or other kind of detectors which are getting the reflections from the laser beam getting through the sample and reflected to the camera. And so the images are a couple of images for example, you can see for some micrometers in thickness. So they are generating a huge stack of images. For example, you can see it here as an example. A single stack just can have 400 to 6,000 of images, and the amount of data reaches up to 800 gigabyte. We map this requirement. And for example, if you have not only one view, or you have, for example, time lapse of a few days of a living organism, for example, if you want to investigate how this life form is swallowing some food or something like that, or how the cells are moving, and then you have a time lapse and have a image stack of up to 12,000 images, and this just exceeds the terabyte limit. And yeah, for that we tried our volume rendering engine. We had to do a little bit of optimization, and we tested a lot of data the researchers come up with, and we tested to generate a volume rendering from the data sets. We tested to load data sets up to 1 terabyte. So again, the researcher came here with a couple of hard disk drives and said, okay, this is our data. So we have a lot of loading, a lot of optimization in the loading. And then of course we tested the interaction possibility, and it turns out that all of this, even so we had to do a little bit of file or image conversion for our volume rendering engine, everything works quite fine. So you could use our software for interactively going through, for example, the stomach of really tiny animals, or any kind of images he just came up with could be um, or we could do the visualization in our cave quite well. So I'm very happy that Emmanuel will be there on the next General Assembly with a Visionair, giving a talk about his research and the visualization we get from his data sets. Yeah, so that were our last 4 TNAs.